Welcome to the Lowcountry Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Billotte, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I'd like to welcome Amanda Busby Codney. She is known as the Lifestylist. She's the creator of a style therapy method, a transformational approach that blends life coaching and personal styling to help clients shift their identity and reinvent their lives from inside out. With a background in event planning and editorial leadership, Amanda is thrilled to be working as the community, clients, and events director for One Party Rental, where she helps shape the brand's vision, vendor experience, and community connection. Welcome, Amanda. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Bill.
Wow. You got a lot of stuff going on, Amanda. So
a lot of stuff going on.
So
Yes.
you have taken on this giant role as, I'm just going to condense it a little bit, as sort of the events director, which is a big job for One Party Rental. So, and One Party Rental is run by Kelly Waldren. And so, what has Kelly got you doing, and what's going on at One Party Rental?
So Kelly Waldren built this amazing company called One Party Rental, and it really built a marketplace where families can easily plan amazing, unforgettable kids' birthday parties, while also giving local vendors a space to feature everything that they offer. And so that offers the parent the ability to literally click and purchase all of the things that they would need for an event. And that gives them the space to really be present at the birthday party and at the party that they're throwing for their family, with their friends, with their kids, versus running around like crazy trying to deal with everything else. And so Kelly, is a mom herself, built this amazing company and brought me on really to create more of the community around the business, to be a little bit of that face of the brand. I have a background that was always front facing, so I definitely don't mind those conversations and talking with people and getting the word out there. And then I'm giving her a little bit of consulting around how to really get the word out there in that marketing capacity and in front of the right groups, because the idea that she created is brilliant. So It's just making it bigger and getting visibility.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, there's a really amazing way she's kind of put this together, because usually when you're getting stuff for a birthday party or any kind of thing, it's like you have to go to a bunch of different people, and it is this kind of coordination game you're playing with. And like you said, it's like it's hard to be present because you're always, you're trying to manage the event instead of being at the event. And it's almost like and I don't know if she had experience in this or not, or maybe it's like, it sounds like she took like what they do for wedding planning and kind of moved it over here into party planning, because it kind of makes it where it's all seamless and you just get to enjoy. Is that fair?
Yeah, actually really well said. And I think one thing that she noticed was she found this kind of gap in the market, right? Like there were these platforms for weddings.
Right.
We're in Charleston. There's a lot of weddings that happen here. Right. And so she was noticing some of what was happening there and noticing there's a gap for kids' birthday parties. Right. And her actual original idea was potentially going to span all of the party world. And then she thought, wait, there's already a lot of this going on for weddings, but it doesn't exist for kids.
Right.
And Kelly is a mom of one. Rex, her son, is 7. And she actually had an experience with him that kind of shaped this plan that she came up with around the business. And she was planning his birthday party, and per usual, kids have these amazing ideas of what they want their party to be like, right? And mom and dad and parents are like juggling 1,000 things to try to make it happen for their kids, amongst packing lunches in school and all of the chaos. So she said she was, all in, like deep in for this party for her son. And she is researching vendors, and she's calling them, and she's texting them, and she's emailing them. And I have a background in event planning, so I know what it's like to bring all of the vendors together. Yeah. And it's really challenging. And I think as a busy mom, as a busy parent, you don't have the time to put into that, but you want to create this very memorable experience for your kids, right? And for you, and to enjoy it. So she was running around like chicken with her head cut off, and she tells the story of this bouncy house. Like Rex had this vision of this specific type of bouncy house, which I didn't even know existed actually before talking with her. And it was like a certain color, it was a certain style, it was like this specific one. And so she looked up over 20 different vendors that do these blow up bouncy houses. And she said it was just taking like all of her time, right? Again, emails, text, phone calls, and then finding vendors too that maybe were no longer in business, or, they only have one person servicing that type of service versus a team. So she was hitting a lot of dead ends and just wasting a lot of time trying to get this perfect bouncy house for her son, Rex. And efficiency is something Kelly's really passionate about, which makes her very gifted at One Party Rental. She has a background in fulfillment and process, and she is like, if you need a spreadsheet and details done, she is your person. So this is driving her crazy, right? And she's going, okay, there must be a better system for this, right? For all of the parents going through the same thing. And that was part of the beginning of her idea for, I need to create a platform where all of these vendors are in one place. So as a parent, you can literally click, look at the 5 or 50 different versions of bouncy houses, right? Click, purchase, buy, and you're done. And you also know that these vendors are vetted, right? So they are vetted by One Party Rental, by our company, so that you're not guessing, right? And you're able to create that specific client experience. You're able to create the birthday experience for your son, for your family, right? And you don't have to deal with all of the details that come with it.
That's amazing, because I can totally feel what you're talking about here, because, just trying to, any kind of event, especially a birthday party for a child, it's like, you want to go and you want to be able to see what kind of houses, bounce houses, or whatever things is in their inventory. Most of the time you can't see it on their website. You usually end up having to call somebody and they describe it over the phone. But having one place where you can kind of see, okay, here's the inventory. Here's who I know is actually in business and, will actually show up.
Exactly.
And the thing is, to me, which is really a great thing, is that it's not just the bounce house. Because there's always like, hey, I need food too. Because, if I'm going to have kids over here, I need food. And, I may need balloons. I may need, and here's the other part about this. So I've talked to a lot of different businesses across the Lowcountry. What Kelly's doing is creating opportunities, because there may be people that want to get into this business, but they don't want to have to handle all this logistical side of things. And Kelly could be giving them access to a lot of people just through this. This is an amazing thing. So what else? What is all the kind of different things that she has? I know you've mentioned bounce houses, but how far does it go? Does it go all the way out to, food and balloons, or other things? What's all the offerings in the inventory right now?
There are so many different offerings, and we are only just beginning, right?
Okay.
So we just launched end of March,
Cool.
And we are every day adding on different vendors. Every day we are refining the consumer experience. We have a great development team and website team, just making it easier every day. Again, Kelly's number one is productivity and efficiency. And so we're working on that always to streamline it and make it easier for both the parent side and the vendor side. So as far as vendors right now, we have so many, and again, we'll continually add as we vet and interview and find new vendors. But right now it's everything from bouncy houses to balloons to flowers. We have cakes and bakery goods. We have full food options. So if you're wanting to fully cater the entire event, we have that covered. We also have, and what I think makes One Party Rental really unique is we have curated these experiences that you can also purchase with vendors. So I just interviewed someone last week that does amazing. It's science with kids. It's called the Lit Chemist. So she creates this. Yeah, you would actually really like it.
I love that.
But she creates these interactive experiences with kids that you might not be able to find as a parent, right? I mean, I would never think of that, but Kelly found this very unique vendor. So there's a lot of different experiences with kids that you can do. And also the things that we all think about with kids parties. So face painting is available, renting, even, blow up pools are available. King of Pops is one of our favorite vendors. They do very clean ingredients, popsicles, but it comes with these vendors that really connect with kids and really enjoy doing those kids parties. So it's anything and everything you would need. We like to say it's a one-stop shop, one-click shop, actually.
That's
so
very nice.
One click, you can purchase everything that you would need for your party and be done. And again, these vendors are vetted. So we know who they are. We know that they are available. When they say they're going to be available, we know they produce a high quality product or experience.
Cool. So let me ask you a business kind of question, a couple little business questions.
Right.
So
ready.
When a parent comes in, do they do all the financial stuff of this, the paying through one party rental? Or do they have to go to each one of the vendors and pay them individually? How do you guys kind of make it easy on that side of things?
Great question. So when you log onto the website, you can literally choose, let's use an example of a cake. You would like to buy a cake for your son's birthday. We're going to do Spider-Man, right? So you look at all of the bakeries that we have available. There might be 5, 10, 20, and you can look through and see photos of all of the options. You can see reviews, and then you find whatever vendor you choose and you click. You might add a note, Spider-Man cake. They might have an option for different characters or things like that. So you click, you purchase right on the spot with that click, you buy and you secure. So all of that is done.
Wow.
Then from that standpoint, through the website, you might get an email from that vendor, but through One Party Rental, saying, just confirming, we have your Spider-Man cake ready on Saturday, 11 a.m. drop off. Thank you for your business. And that's it.
Cool.
So super easy, right? On the parent side, it saves the phone call, text, email, back and forth conversation. Right. And you actually get to see the picture of what you're getting, unless it's like I say, we may not have the Spider-Man cake on there, but they can definitely create that. And then on the vendor side, you had mentioned vendors before. What's really nice as a vendor too, is for the cake example, they're not spending all of those minutes. Again, efficiency and productivity is Kelly's, strong suit here. And for parents wanting to make that just as easy as possible, but also for vendors. So that vendor is also not spending, an hour on the phone, email, back and forth, talking about the cake, figuring out the details of the cake, because it's already on the website. So for the vendor, they're getting that note. They know what the cake is. Maybe it's one little text back and they're done.
Cool.
So it makes it easy on both ends.
So how do you, again, I'm sorry, this is totally business geeky question, but so how do you deal with customer service? Because, these kids and their parents are demanding customers. How do you make sure they're getting what they, ask for? And how are you making sure that your vendors are getting feedback on how good they did? Let's just say they did great, but how do you work in that kind of deal?
Yeah, great question. And I think that is really important on both sides, that you have that communication and feedback. So Kelly has a team at One Party Rental. We have people on the back end that are connecting with those vendors to make sure that the experience is what we want it to be. That's why I say, they're really vetted. So if they're putting up a Spider-Man cake, we've already tasted the cake. We make sure that it's a great product.
I need to volunteer for this.
I know, right? Want to come do some cake tasting?
Yeah.
I mean, it's important that we're putting out a product that we believe in too. So we've had experience or reviews or experienced it ourselves before we put it on the website. So they're getting that, conversation with our client coordinator position, and she is really dealing with them, making sure that they're getting that experience they need. And then as far as the parent on the site, if they have any questions, we are easily accessible via email or help on the website if there's anything they need. But the goal is, again, that they don't actually even need us, right? It's all so set up and so streamlined on the website that they click, they buy. There should be very minimal questions, right? Because we're listing out specific products, but we're always there 24/7, for those questions via website and help.
Cool. And this service that you're doing, is it just in Charleston, or how big of an area are you guys covering right now? I know that's a little bit tougher question.
No, so we say that it's now live in Charleston, Somerville, and the surrounding tri-county area, rather.
Nice. Okay.
Our plan is to expand to additional cities, right? It
Yes.
started here, but we hope to grow it and build it all over the U.S. Because I think it's a need, it's a niche. Kelly really saw that gap and said we need to fill it. And we've had such great feedback already from vendors saying thank you. I think you mentioned earlier that, these vendors, there's a lot of new business in Charleston. There's a lot of people starting.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of event vendors, but it's also a lot of work to market, to produce,
Right.
to talk to clients. And so we've just had so much feedback from our vendors saying, thank you. This makes it easier on us, right? We're giving them visibility. We're doing marketing. I'm heading up a lot of our interviews. So I'm actually interviewing the vendors face to face to give them visibility that way. So it's just such a great concept for the vendors and then for the parents as well.
So if vendors want to get a hold of you or Kelly, how do they go about it? Is it just an email? Is it a phone call? How do you interact with vendors right now?
All of the above. We always like to have an in-person conversation over the phone, and email and text. So info@onepartyrental would be the email to reach out to, and just let us know what you're looking at offering. We have a whole very detailed information sheet that we'll send to you. We'll have a conversation. We'll do an interview. Again, we vet all of our vendors. We want to make it a very productive and helpful experience on both ends. So we want to make it easy for our vendors to sign up, to launch, all of those details, because our vendors are busy too. So we make it as easy and streamlined as possible.
Now, I haven't asked this question, but I should have asked this question early on. Is when you're doing the birthday party, are you doing a birthday party at someone's house? Or are you also doing a coordination of a birthday party at a specific location, like a bowling alley, a movie theater, or wherever? How are you guys working that?
So right now, it is anywhere you would like to throw the event, our vendors can be there and show up, right? So we also have, I don't even think I mentioned this, in our vendors event planner. So if you do want someone to come in and help curate a little bit more of, maybe you want to have a pop-up event at the bowling alley and bring in another vendor. We do have event planners that we work with that we love that can help curate those specific events. But it could be anywhere you would choose, right? Yeah. And then you can have that cake delivered there. The bouncy house delivered. So we do all of the above.
Wow, that is really cool. Because I know there's places around here that have events like birthday parties and stuff at their location. So I was like, okay, well, how do you guys deal with that? Because they've got, obviously their own little setup and stuff too. So you're taking that headache off a parent's head too. So that's really nice.
Exactly. And the best feedback we've gotten from parents that have used One Party Rental is they actually get to enjoy the birthday party. They actually get to be there with their kids, and I've experienced that. I have 2 nieces, 4 and 8, you're running around. I was planning the birthday parties, which I loved, but I'm running around planning it. I'm not sitting there in it with them and getting pictures and, you're busy coordinating the rest of the event. So that is the goal, and the feedback we've gotten from our parents is I actually got to enjoy the birthday party. Everything was done.
Right.
And of course hiccups will happen. Sure. Our vendors are not 1,000% perfect, but again, they're vetted, they're tested, and they are people that we really see as a value add to your event. And, we trust them to perform and show up when they say they're going to.
Yeah. And, you brought up another thing I was going to ask about, which is pictures, because everybody knows, everybody's held a party, especially for a child's birthday party. You spend a lot of time taking pictures. So you're not really participating. You've now become the event photographer.
Yes.
So sometimes people enjoy that, but after a while, you're kind of like, you'd like to be a part of the party versus just the photographer. Do you guys offer photography type services and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely. And that's one that people love as well. Because like you said, you're not running around trying to capture and plan and be the mom and be there with your kids. You're not wearing as many hats. So we absolutely offer that service so that you can be, again, just more present and be there with your kids. You're busy, you're running around, you want to enjoy the day with them.
So let me ask you a harder question.
Oh, I'm ready.
Rescheduling. So we've ordered a bouncy house. The winds are not appropriate to have a bouncy house, and we want to reschedule. What does a parent do in that situation?
So when you book a vendor, you will have their contact information, again, through the site of One Party Rental. Okay. So anyone that's offering a service that is dependent on weather, we have that plan B, which is, we'll cancel and we'll reschedule, whatever their plan B protocols are. Definitely important for kids, right? Yeah. So you would have that contact portal through One Party Rental, send them an email, however you're communicating with them, and they'll work with you on that, whatever their specific protocol is. Yeah, because things happen, right?
Because things happen. We do have weather down here, and it's like that becomes a whole job in itself if you have to, go and do all that kind of stuff. And it's
absolutely.
And if you guys are really taking that headache, that's an amazing thing for parents. It gives you peace of mind. It's like, okay, this is going to work no matter what, and that's awesome, right?
Yes, huge.
Yeah, I still remember, like, when my son was 5, he's much older now. When he was 5, we had this great birthday party at our house, and he was into, believe it or not, bugs. And so we had Ryan, the bug guy, who came down from Pennsylvania. He brought, a black scorpion, a tarantula, and some other things, and, all very tame, and greatest little birthday party ever. We still remember it to the day, and I think that's what I kind of, think about when you're telling me this about the One Party Rental. It's like, it's not just having a birthday party, you're creating memories for families. And I think that's very powerful.
I agree. You said it well. It's not just a birthday party, it's creating memories for families. Yeah. And that really is the priority, right? Yeah. When you really think about it, and why Kelly started this in the first place.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I'm going to dig a little bit more in that area. So a lot of folks around this area have children that have special needs. Do you guys work with those families who, they may have sensory or auditory type things that they have special requests over? How do you deal with that?
Absolutely. I think our big goal and focus is that everyone is feeling supported. Everyone is able to enjoy their birthday party. We're offering all the options so that no one is left out of that experience, right? Everyone should be able to have that birthday party that they enjoy. So again, with our vendors being vetted, they are able, as the parent, to have that conversation with the vendor and say, hey, my child really, has a hard time with loud noises. Could we make sure your volume is down as our sound engineer that's coming in to create the music for the party, or whatever it might be. Yeah. They're very able and willing to work with everyone. I just did an interview with Henna by Morgan, and I just got it on my arm. Actually, it looks very cool.
Nobody can see this, but she's got a henna tattoo on her arm.
Isn't it cool?
It's very nice. It's a peacock, or is it a pheasant?
Actually, the part of it kind of looks like a peacock on the top there. Yeah. And then she wove it in with a beautiful flower, and it's, so stunning. But her and I were talking about kids and how to work with kids, and have them sit still, because she's very fast, but this took a little bit of time. And she said, I really pride myself on creating an environment that's calm and that's fun and that's peaceful. And she said the kids end up really responding well. They actually sit. She said they sit still better than adults do, actually.
That's great. That's funny.
But her personality and all of our vendors that I've met with and talked with, they're geared towards kids, all types of kids, all things that are happening, with kids at young ages. So our vendors are really great at working with families.
That's amazing. So are you guys involved? I know you're working with families. Are you involved with any like the local festivals, or you have any events coming up for the business you'd like to talk about?
We will be having our grand opening event this fall, sometime in September. So keep an eye out for that. That will be a big event that we are having, featuring a lot of our vendors. There'll be a lot of families invited, kids, of course. So keep an eye out for that. I'll get you the date as soon as we have that date and location nailed down. But yes, we try to pop around to as many events as we can, just to be a part of it. And community is such a big part of One Party Rental. being in Charleston and having that local, community is so important. As a local entrepreneur, local business, Kelly really wants that to be at the forefront of what she does. So we love supporting, local businesses and family-oriented businesses, businesses that benefit children. So we have our hands in a lot of pots there.
Awesome. I love this. And Amanda, this has been great. I know you've just moved down here. You've been here a few months now, and
yes.
you've had your consulting business for quite a while, but you're
yes.
new to One Party Rental. So I'm going to ask you the question like I ask all the folks kind of starting out. So
right.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs out there in the Charleston area?
Yes, great advice. So I'll speak from my standpoint as an entrepreneur of 20 years now, crazy, is to trust what you're really good at and really gifted at, and give it space to grow, and know that it might evolve. I know for me, my business and what I do has evolved so much. So give it the space to really evolve and really grow, and see where it aligns with you at different points in your life, and give it, again, the opportunity to change and evolve and grow. And it might turn into something, even bigger than you imagined in the beginning.
Right.
And Kelly, on this question, her and I talked about it this morning.
Okay.
She said to start before you feel ready, because you're never going to feel ready. And I said, I totally agree with that too, right? Her and I really had the same kind of experience with that. So start before you feel ready. And then you don't have to have everything figured out before you begin. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Not the perfect timing, not the perfect product, but just start. And she is really, really great at just putting things out there, right? And she's also very calculated in that, but putting things out there and starting with that action before you're completely clear.
Yeah.
And another thing she mentioned was consistency. So just, trusting what you're building and staying with it. Right. And, One Party Rental at one point was just an idea, in her mind. And she really believed that this was such a niche that was needed and a gap in the market. And she consistently worked on it, worked on the process, brought in developers, brought in all the right people to surround her to build this amazing company. And, that is a lot of consistency there, a lot of hard work, a lot of determination. Yeah. So she's built something pretty incredible.
Yeah. And just the fact alone that she's got all these different businesses she's connected with is amazing. That is a lot of work. And so I totally feel what you're saying. It's like, nothing's going to be perfect when you start. I always go back to the old advice, which is, everybody has a plan till they get hit in the face, which is another way to say, don't wait till everything's perfect, because you're still going to get hit in the face and you'll have to adapt to that.
I've never heard that specifically like that, but that's very true. I agree.
It's totally a guy quote. It's actually from Mike Tyson. So it's like,
oh, funny.
Yeah. He's not often associated with sage advice, but in that sense, it's very similar to that. It's like, it kind of follows along with this idea. It's like, if you wait till everything's perfect, you'll never get anything done, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so. Actually, quite wise advice from Mike Tyson.
Yeah, we heard that here first. I'm sure Mr. Tyson would love to hear that.
Yes.
Well, this has been a pleasure, Amanda, and thank you so much. We'll have to have you back on again sometime, and you can tell us more, since you're also doing consulting. We have to tell us more about what you're doing for other folks, and tell us about the adventures that are going on here in the Lowcountry for you.
Wonderful. Yes, would love to be back on again. I so appreciate that.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Bill.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Lowcountry Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Billotte, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of Lowcountry innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.